Drinking, death threats, and Counterstrike Global Offensive. These are how you become immortal. Today, we're looking at one of the most bizarre controversies in professional Counter-Strike history. A moment where a team showed up late not once, but twice on a single day.
The Immortals have forfeited it due to being late to the stage and to playing.
Got into a flame war on Twitter that escalated to threats of violence.
He did have to be shepherded by his coach while people told FNS to get to a safe distance.
And how one night of drinking caused the collapse of one of the most promising rosters in CSGO. This is the story of Immortals at DreamHack Montreal 2017. In 2016, Immortals were one of the biggest up-and-coming teams in CSGO. After acquiring Tempo Storm's roster, they quickly became the second best team in Brazil behind SK Gaming. After a series of roster changes, they ended up with a lone player from Red Reserve named KNG, who turned out to be a dynamite signing, leading the team to qualify for their first ever major at PGL Krakow 2017. At their first ever major, the roster of KNG, Boltz, Steel, and the twins Lucas1 and Henny defied all expectations, not just making it through the group stage, but going all the way to the finals before falling short to Gambit Esports. After this performance, KNG was made an official member of the team, and with the core of KNG, Lucas, and Henny set in stone, many had high expectations for the young team. With the respectable quarterfinals finish at DreamHack Masters Malmo, Immortals looked poised to become one of the best teams in the world within the next year. All they had to do was place well at a few more tournaments and get their systems dialed, which is exactly what they intended to do at DreamHack Montreal 2017. DreamHack Montreal was a mid-sized tournament with a $100,000 prize pool. Attracting teams like North and Cloud9, it was a perfect venue for Immortals to gel as a team and work out the kinks. Their run began in Group B, with Complexity, Luminosity, and Cloud9, and after 2 solid wins, they secured first seed in Group B, meaning they had the entirety of Day 2 off and were automatically seeded into the finals bracket. After the group stages continued on Saturday, Cloud9 also qualified for the playoffs. In Group A, first seed was secured by North, and the plucky underdogs CLG managed to beat Team Kinguin in the elimination game to secure second. Which brings us to Day 3, playoffs. With a day off to review film and rest, Immortals came out swinging, taking down CLG in the semis and qualifying for grand finals. With 3 hours to kill before the last match of the tournament, Immortals went back to their hotel to rest up for grand finals against North, who took down Cloud9 earlier that day. A quick note about how CS tournaments work. Grand finals for DreamHack Montreal were set for 3:30 p.m. but teams were expected to show up by 3:05 for their call time, which gives them a chance to warm up, get situated, and make sure their setups are to their liking. Unfortunately, at 3:05 on this day, only 2 Immortals players, Steel and Boltz, were at their desks ready to play. Henny, Lucas, and KNG were nowhere to be seen. But no big deal, right? People show up late, and surely the team wouldn't miss grand finals of such a prestigious tournament. Well, the clock continued ticking, the 3:30 start time came and went, and at 3:45, with still no signs of life, Immortals were forced to forfeit the first map of Grands.
And it is that we will not be seeing the first map of Mirage. It does look like the Immortals have forfeited it due to being late to the stage and to playing, and that's just the way the cookie crumbled, I suppose. I don't really know.
A few minutes later, the players finally showed up, but it was clear that they weren't ready to play. They sat down, picked a map, and were promptly destroyed. Something must have happened off-screen, and many wondered if it was food poisoning or some other issue that caused Immortals to show up so late. But when the reason came to light, it set forth a chain of events that would eventually result in the team imploding completely. To find out how that happened, we have to go back in time just a little bit. Earlier that same day, Immortals were playing against CLG, who they defeated 2-0. While those watching on stream wouldn't know that something had happened, CLG coach Ryu, while waiting for Immortals to show up to their game against North, tweeted, quote, "After apparently spending the night partying, Immortals players showed up late to our match this morning. And again now." This was followed up by a tweet from CLG FNS, who said, quote, "Worst part is, I lost to a team with 3 players who were hungover." Immortals immediately took to Twitter to defend themselves. Some cited jet lag as the reason for their tardiness, and Lucas1 tweeted, quote, "Hungover? Is this a joke? It doesn't matter. You lose to us every time." Amid the players going back and forth, and Brazilian fans piling on to defend their home team, the tweet that pushed it over the edge came courtesy of KNG, who replied to FNS saying, quote, "You'll prove it or I'll kill you. A bit of online trash talk is par for the course in competitive gaming, but sending an actual death threat to a fellow competitor? Unacceptable. On the Peaker's Advantage podcast, FNS later recounts how things played out at the hotel later that night.
A guy walks up to me and says, "Hey man, like, gotta go. You gotta go." And I'm like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Dude, you tweeted this. Kanji, like, is not happy with you right now, and he's looking for you." Because I think he was really, really upset, and he may have hit me, maybe have talked shit to me, maybe showed me. I don't really know what he would have done. All the information I got is I need to leave. This guy's temper is out of control. I gotta go.
Fearing for his safety, FNS managed to avoid running into KNG for the rest of the evening, but KNG continued on Twitter, saying, quote, "We didn't go out to party, and this garbage FNS is gonna have to prove what he said." After a tense night, KNG signed off with one final tweet, quote, "I'll just stop talking now because you guys love blaming people. I only have one thing to say. We were late, but I was on the server on time." Unfortunately, the damage had been done, and KNG and the rest of the team were in big trouble. Due to his tweets directed at FNS, KNG was suspended internally and later removed from the roster after another incident while under suspension.
I let Zach know to tell the players, as well as KNG, that he would not be permitted to play until we had figured out the game plan for how he would be proceeding with the Immortals organization. After losing the first map against CLG using our coach as a stand-in, Henny and Lucas refused to continue playing the match unless KNG was allowed to play as a member of the starting roster. With KNG playing, we took the next two maps and the match. KNG being included in the starting roster was a direct violation of the punishment that we had communicated to him and the players. For violating that punishment, KNG was immediately terminated from his contract and is not a part of Immortals and will never again be a part of Immortals.
KNG and the twins, Lucas 1 and Henny, were deducted a month's pay and did not receive any of the prize money from DreamHack Montreal due to being late for their matches. All of the money they would have received was donated to the charity Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Greater Montreal. Feeling betrayed by the org's decision to completely drop KNG, Lucas 1 and Henny refused to play and were benched by the organization until they were finally released and picked up by 100 Thieves. Coincidentally, they joined their old teammate FNX on 100 Thieves, and the 4 ex-Immortals ended up taking Immortals' spot at the major later that year. Or at least, they would have if KNG could have stayed off Twitter long enough to not make a homophobic statement against game analyst Thorin. He could not stay off Twitter, could not keep his homophobia to himself, and was removed from 100 Thieves along with the rest of the roster a few days later. But there is a redemption arc. Towards the end of 2018, KNG put out a twitlonger apologizing to FNS, Immortals, 100 Thieves, and of course, Thorin. And it seems as though he really meant it, and that his apology was well received. All of the players from the original Immortals roster would go on to have decent careers, though none of them would reach the same heights as PGL Krakow. While many fans remember the roster for the DreamHack Montreal incident, they're also remembered as some of the most promising up-and-comers to play the game. Had they stuck together, it's possible they could have become major champions down the road. Instead, they've been forever immortalized as one of Counter-Strike's greatest what-ifs. Shout out and thanks to Cloud, Steph, B, Pass, Shampoo, and Yashichi for being top patrons of the channel. If you enjoyed the video, leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell to stay up to date is much appreciated. My name is Jonah, thanks for watching.